Welcome to another episode of the Active Bariatric Nutrition Podcast. I'm so excited today to have on the podcast bariatric bodybuilder and long distance runner, Mary Acosta. Mary had vertical sleeve gastrectomy surgery on March 12th, 2020. Prior to her surgery, Mary had been under observation for a heart attack in 2019. She also had problems with her cervical spine and sciatica. Her doctor recommended bariatric surgery, but her parents were scared and not supportive of it. Once Mary's endocrinologist looked at her case, he told her that bariatric surgery would be a jumpstart that would save her life. And that was when she decided to commit to changing her lifestyle for health, wellness, and longevity. But it hasn't been an easy road since having bariatric surgery. She has suffered from gallbladder issues as well as esophagitis and GERD, which nearly pushed her to having a revision to a Roux-en-Y gastric bypass. She had to take a break from running for 7 months after suffering a quad strain at mile 20 of a long training run. However, she has now emerged stronger than ever. Today, Mary is not just a survivor, she is a thriving bodybuilder and long-distance runner. Her journey represents the power of human will and the transformative potential of health-focused choices. She is proof that setbacks can fuel comebacks and obstacles can be stepping stones to greatness. Thanks so much for being here today, Mary. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm really lucky and I'm really grateful that you have me here. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, I know. We were just saying, I'm like a total Instagram stalker and I follow people and I'm always like giving hearts and likes. And then I'll be like, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? And so I'm so glad that you agreed to come on. Thanks so much.
No, you're welcome. Absolutely. But I want to just
Cool.
spread the message and share my experience. We, in the weight loss community, we come in different shapes and sizes. And the only thing we have in common, like one thing, is health and wellness and the mental health aspect of it, which is this journey is very mental, extremely mental.
That's so true. And I want to talk all about that because I know you've been through lots of ups and downs on your journey. And I think it's good to share because, having the surgery itself is a huge decision. And then, it's for a lot of folks that, the start can be great. And for some folks, it can be a little bit more challenging. And how you persevered and, have come out of some of the challenges that you've had and are now doing all these great things, I think is such a great learning experience for others as well.
Yeah, it really has been. It's been a roller coaster. Nothing is straight line. It's just like this. You got to enjoy the ride and be like up and down and okay. Okay, I'm scared. No.
Isn't that the truth? It's like, wait a minute. Yeah, I know. I hear you. Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about how bariatric surgery's changed your life since you've had it in 2020.
It changed it dramatically in a way that I felt that I was like reborn into something that I never thought that I had in me. And I always been up and down yo-yo. And I did everything. I did the diet pills. I did acupuncture. I did everything. Yeah. And I was really trying. But in this case, I'm in my 40s. So I did all sorts of things in my 20s. And I'm like, oh my God, how did I got myself into my body? All sorts of experiment diets, the celery diet. I would drink liquids. It's like, oh my God, I'm just killing myself. I don't like this anymore. So it's just, you feel lost. It's like a mission of uncertainty, like with weight. For me, it wasn't like an influence about, I don't know, like the aesthetic aspect of it. I just wanted to feel not sick anymore. I wanted to feel that my body was breathing and everything that was coming in, it was making me strong, but it was just, I was stuck. And then my mental health was, I always had issues when I was a teenager, body image and stuff. So some people like with humor, we learn how to hide it. So I don't know, it's just a combination of a lot of things. And I did my part. And I was even, in Mexico, I got it through SIMSA, like because I worked in an employer in San Diego that the insurance was through Mexico. So there's that option. Some companies do that. And I went through the same protocol. I was in a nutrition program. They put me in the medication. They put me under Saxenda. I don't know if you heard about it. I don't know if it's kind of like Manjaro that manipulates like the pancreas with the liver and stuff. And you kind of like put like an EpiPen on your stomach. I got an allergic reaction to it. So It was pretty gnarly. The
Yeah.
reaction,
Oh
like my
no.
stomach was all
And this is
bloated.
all before the surgery. You're like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to just get the surgery. What the heck?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah. Like I
gosh.
try that, and they asked I have to take it up to the medical board because of the type of insurance plan. I'm like that. I check
Yeah.
every little detail of what I'm saying, of the insurances, the
Totally.
breakdown of benefits, and all that. I'm like, oh my god, my insurance can cover weight loss surgery. So I had
Yeah.
to really bring justification, and they tell me you're not right in your mind. The doctor told me that
Mhm.
you,
Mhm.
I want you to go to the therapist. You have to go to
Yeah.
psychiatry. So it was a lot of things to wrap around my head. And my
Yeah.
parents, they're really scared of me. They're like, if you have
Oh.
any complications, imagine that we don't exist to you. It
Oh.
was really a
Yeah.
hard pill to swallow, but support system is really important. I have
Yeah.
my partner, my
Yeah.
husband. He's been with me. We've been together almost like 9 years. He's been with me from my all shapes and sizes and more. Like it's just been crazy,
Yeah.
and he's been
It's
a rock to me. And he trained me to run.
yeah.
He
Oh,
trained
that's
me, and
awesome.
it's just crazy. Yeah, yeah. But I got second opinions because I was scared of this. I spoke with people at my job that I was in that got this done. I'm like, okay, good experience, bad experiences. So I'm like, I was really at the fence about it because this
Yeah.
is something that they're gonna strip away a part of your organ, a part of your
Yeah.
body. So I
Sure.
was just like, I gotta brace myself. I gotta do what I can. I was really reluctant to do it, and I was exercising, and then I have the cervical spine and then the sciatica. And that's when I'm five
Yeah.
foot, I'm a shorty. So weighing
Yeah.
more than 200 pounds and being a size 18,
Yeah.
my body was really
Challenging.
falling apart. There were other triggers. So I was just like, okay, this is getting very scary. So, and when I
Right.
was under observation, a heart attack, it was a really rude awakening for me. I
Sure.
felt this tightness on my chest. I felt weird, and I just felt uneasy, like if a bomb was going to explode inside me. So
Right. Right.
I was
It
just
was
like,
just
mhm, it was a
time.
lot.
Yeah, it was time.
It
Yeah.
was time. Yeah.
Oh. Well, all right. I mean, I'm assuming you're happy you went through that procedure of having the sleeve.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I have video when I first came out, fresh out of surgery. My husband, I was just laying there. I was like,
What did
and,
I do?
and I was just like, what's going on? My body was trying to process. Listen, it
Yeah.
was one day when they closed everything in the pandemic,
Yeah. Oh gosh.
2020.
So you
They
got it right
canceled
before
the
the pandemic.
surgeries.
Yeah.
They closed the Mexican border. So I
Oh.
had to stay in there for the most crucial 2 weeks. They did the
Oh
swallow
wow.
test and everything. I had to stay with my mom. Became at peace with it once we went to the endocrinologist, and they did a panel. They said, your daughter, this is not going to end well for her if she doesn't do something now. This is
Yeah.
going to reset everything, her organs, everything. This is going to
Yeah.
really save her. And
Yeah.
that's when my mom came and acceptance. And she was a
Sure.
huge help with the first 2 weeks, but
Oh.
it was just crazy that I came out of there and I felt depressed. I got depressed like for the first 30
Yeah.
days because
Sure.
my body was like, something is missing. I felt that somebody chopped off my arm. And I
Yeah.
was just trying to figure out, I wasn't crying or everything. I was just, where are you?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it just feels like something has changed. Yeah, I mean, it's like, what have I done? And I know I get folks that'll say that sometimes too, is just kind of initially afterwards, you kind of go through a phase of like, buyer's remorse, so to speak, because you're kind of like, oh God, what did I do? Am I really
yeah,
ready for these? My life is now on a different path because of the surgery that I just had, and it
yeah.
can be scary initially. And that's kind of what I wanted to ask you here, which was, you said you did have some complications afterwards. You have esophagitis, GERD. Tell us a little bit about how did you, with your mindset, kind of work through those obstacles to get to where you are today, which is like you've just totally overhauled your nutrition and your movement. How did you work through that with your mindset?
With my mindset, first, this was my father. May he
Yeah.
rest in peace. He was fighting cancer at the
Oh,
time. And his last words to me was, because he was really worried about me, about the revision for
yeah.
the bypass. And I was terrified. So imagine with the surgeon and the GI telling me, if this doesn't get better, you're a step away from esophageal cancer and tumors.
Right.
This is serious. This is not a game. And a lot of it was, we're going to treat you like a bulimic patient. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Why? I
Yeah.
never,
What?
never, because they're like, you're level obesity too. You're a special case. It's going to take like a huge toll on your body at first. So they were
Yeah.
really being real with me. They were being
Mhm.
direct. I was like in shock and scared, of course. And I'm
Of
like,
course.
and my dad, that's when he was in the bed in the hospital. He's like, what's happened? I'm like, well, I might get a bypass. He's like, don't do the bypass. Do whatever it takes. And that's when I started to research about the alkaline
Mhm.
levels in food.
Mhm.
And I had a great, in Mexico, a bariatric, dietitian that also helped me with my gallbladder issues. She kind of gave me the tools of it, and the pieces came up together. And they put me this device that did the swallow test on me. And
Mhm.
sometimes, I have a hiatal hernia. So food doesn't stay stuck, but it takes me a
Gotcha.
while too.
Sure.
It's like people 20 minutes. I'm like, I wish I could do that. It's just
Yeah.
20
That
minutes.
sounds great, but that still takes me longer. It just takes you
Yeah.
longer to yeah, to eat a meal, and that
And
I know
and
that.
and they did the put like a metal thing in through my nose. I think the pneumometry. I'm not sure like how it's pronounced. Sorry, English is
Mhm.
not my
Mhm.
native language.
Yeah. That's okay. No,
So,
yeah.
it when the nurse was putting it in, it felt very foreign, and I was like gagging, and the nurse felt bad for me. She's like, "I can stop," and I'm like, "No, you can keep going." I
Do
had to
it.
do it. I know I had to do it. I was just thinking about I
Yeah.
have to do this. How am I gonna know the problem and the issue? They have to go in there. So I have to really
Yeah.
put myself together for my
Yeah.
body to relax and my
Yeah.
muscles and everything went through. I had that device in me, and so I could not take the medication. It's like an antacid one that's stronger than the omeprazole. This is
Sure.
like a lot
Yeah.
stronger, and
Yeah.
I was just burning. My throat was burning. So
Oh.
when I noticed the levels on the machine, whenever I ate, when the levels would go high, it means that it was less acidic. When it was very low, and I was just starting to okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
when.
We're
So
not
that's
gonna
what I
eat
helped
those
me.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when I started to
Yeah.
learn. And, I would start to research and books. And, I'm more like border trial and error. This is the
Yeah.
whole journey that I can say trial and error. There's so many things I'm learning from everybody else. And that's the
So
only thing. It
true.
may not work. It's not a one size fits all. But the thing you
Yep.
can do is trial and error. And that's when I discovered
Yeah.
I was having endoscopies every 3 months.
Yeah.
That's a lot for the
That's
body.
that's a lot.
Anesthesia
Yeah.
is not good for the
Absolutely.
body. So I was just in the mindset, take it one step at a time, one swallow at a time, protein at a time. I was just seeing everything like an algorithm to be able to
Sure.
figure out something. And I was at peace that if the bypass happens, it will happen. And I was,
Sure.
it could still happen.
Yeah.
I've been better in my symptoms, but I have to be kind of like it's like I'm on top restriction, on top of restriction, on top of my
Yeah.
gallbladder, and they're like, if it's still clear, thank God. But it's
Yeah.
just like a
Yeah.
mentality. I have to be positive. You gotta be optimistic. You gotta be centered. You can't just dwell like on the negativity or just be like fear take over because I
Yeah.
fight with fear every
Sure.
day. And
Yeah.
once I get over through that, I'm like, okay, the second day and another as you just keep going and okay I can do this. It's like training wheels, but
Yeah.
support. It's okay to be scared.
Absolutely. And just taking one foot in front of the other and taking baby steps. And like I know you and I talked about this kind of offline before we hit record, but just you made some dietary changes and I want to talk about that. But first, let me ask you this. Your exercise, your movement, how has that kind of changed over time? So what are you doing right now? What are your current like training and fitness goals? What have you kind of evolved to now?
I have evolved in someone that like in strength in muscle. I'm very passionate
Yeah.
about bodybuilding. I don't see it like in the it doesn't really interest me. People ask me, why are you gonna go on stage? No, I just
Yeah.
want to be freaking
No.
strong. I just
Yeah.
want to grow. I
There
want to
you
be
go.
able
Yeah.
to lift. So it's kind of like
Yeah,
an
absolutely.
addicting feeling to be stronger and you go back. And then you
Right.
put a little bit more weight and you lift more. So that's a really, as a woman in my
Yeah.
category, that's very powerful. Even
Yeah.
I started from beach body workouts, just
Sure.
moving
Yeah.
around, basics, just
Yeah.
very basic. And then, okay, I'll walk 1 hour, 2 hours. So it was just like 1 hour, two, three, and then hiking. So it's kind of like you got to take it slow. You just
Yeah.
can't start like that. This almost 4 years into this. So when I was just doing running a lot, long distance, then I was neglecting strength training. So then I'm like, wait a minute, I need to build up some muscle. Muscle comes
Yeah.
together with strong bones. So
Yep.
it won't be sustainable. I'm gonna be really
Yeah.
frail. So like, I got into the bodybuilding and then beach body workouts and then P90X and then Body Beast. That's what Body Beast. And also when I was a little girl, I was really inspired with Conan, Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger. Oh yeah.
Sure.
You better believe
You're
I
into it.
I
I
was
love
really
it.
into it. And I'm like, I want to be strong, but how? You can feel so lost. YouTube is a fantastic tool.
Yeah. There's so many
Creases
great videos, training
Chris
videos. Yeah.
I learned from Creasy Sela, the gym
Okay.
intimidation. She has some free stuff over there, like a split
Okay.
calendar, very structured, basic, and simple. I recommend her when you start. And then
Oh,
Jeff
that's awesome.
Nippert, and then Abel Albenetti. I follow
Mhm.
him, and he gives like shares free stuff. And my split calendar, when I wanted to straighten the legs, I do like quads on Mondays and Wednesdays. I do like glute workout and
Yep.
then like the hamstrings on Friday. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like depending on the goal that you have that you want to strengthen. That's what for me
Right.
bodybuilding is. You're
Yeah.
building your body, you're molding yourself. You're like things that you struggle with, you will become stronger. It's just a technique and also the type of exercises, like
Yeah.
lunges and like things that the whole mind muscle connection is really important, like the posture of it. Because you can injure, like running, you can injure yourself. In
100%.
bodybuilding, strength training, you can injure yourself
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
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 Technique and proper form is so helpful, And I'm glad that you said that because, I talk to a lot of folks that, want to start running and they're afraid to implement bodybuilding because they're like, well, there's that old myth out there that, you have to be lighter to be faster. And it's like, oh my gosh, we're all just trying to move our bodies like, across the finish line, whatever that might be. But the best thing that I think, is that can be helpful for runners is the strength training because it's not only helping you with just the strength so that you can power through long distances, but going up hills and things like that. But it helps with mobility and flexibility. And I just think it's such a great cross training, tr- program that you can do to add to your running. That's going to really help with your running. It's not going to be a negative thing. It's going to be a positive thing. And I'm glad to hear that you're doing that. So just so that the folks that are listening can kind of understand your program, how many days a week right now do you lift and how many days a week do you run?
I combine both. I train like Monday through Friday, and I take my rest days seriously. The only thing I do on my 2 rest days is just mobility, simple, like opening up
Yeah.
the hamstrings. You gotta give the
Yeah.
muscle time to breathe and to recover. That's when the magic
Absolutely.
happens. That's when you grow. That's when you see the gains and you get stronger. Because I hear so much in the community that they're afraid to rest, that they're gonna gain weight. No, I let my body like, okay, and you feel, and your body will ask you for it. If you're not losing weight and you're not seeing change, your body is screaming, give me a break. I need to breathe. Let me see what I can do. But and I train like almost if the gym is like, when I do legs, I do my long distance running.
Okay.
Training heart zone like two, meaning that for long distances, when you keep your heart rate low, there's a formula
Hmm.
like about that. Like mine, 170 beats per minute, that's my max. And then,
Yep.
there's a formula about that. So if I keep my heart rate under 140, between 135, that's sustainable. My heart is not stressed and I won't feel burned out. That's kind of like my
Hmm.
magic number to be able to just go long distance
To
and for
coast. Yeah.
that to
Have
coast,
a good,
and that
yeah.
also is fat burning too,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just like
No.
fuel every so often, like you mentioned, and that's been really like helpful with the goose. But for me, like the applesauce works great, and the
Yeah.
sweet
Pre
potatoes
workout.
and bananas and other products that, so like it's magic. I was really not afraid of carbs. I was just seeing like there's different types of carbs. Like people come
Yeah.
on to me like, how many carbs do you eat? And I'm like, I eat something's 100 to 120. They're like, oh my God, that's a lot. I'm like, wait a minute.
What?
But
Yeah.
it's not just bricks and cookies. Like, no, it's
Right.
just very Like natural sources, it
Yeah,
is
real
so
food.
better. Like the Built
Yeah,
Bars are fantastic. They're very low in fat. It doesn't have that aftertaste. But like I said, everybody has a different palate of things and taste of things.
that's so
So,
true.
but yeah, my
Yeah.
training lasts for like 2.5 hours
Okay.
or even sometimes three if I go hard. Like you need carbs to like burn fat too. So like that's really important. But
Absolutely.
during peak hours, it's like 2.5 hours because I work
Okay.
at a hospital. Like I'm not an RN or anything like that. I'm more like behind the scenes, but like
Sure.
Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and it becomes a habit.
Sure.
It's
And do
not
you work out in the
like
nighttime or
I do
before?
nighttime or
You do
before.
work out.
Like
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
somehow like I
Either
sleep,
way.
either way, I get it done. And I'm just like, okay, it's very packed at the gym. So like I just improvise. Like if the Smith
Yeah.
machine is I need lunges and I'll do the walking lunges and I put some weight on. It's all about the resistance and the technique of it. So yeah, my
Yeah.
workout's 2 hours to 2.5 hours and 10,000 steps or a little bit more on my rest days with some yoga. It's great. But like it's just kind of like embracing the journey and being really realistic with yourself and be patient with yourself. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
every journey is so unique and I'm learning from everyone. And that's what I,
Yeah.
I love
Gosh.
about this. Yeah.
It's so true. And I just want to go back to I love that you said recovery days because I think I do hear that too when I'm working out with folks or with they're working on their nutrition of course. It's like, "Oh, I'm working out 7 days a week." And I've had so many guests that have said the same thing that more is just more. And in order to really grow muscle or to be able to continue to push yourself in these runs or whatever it might be, whatever you're training for, you have to have recovery days built in. Your body needs the rest. You need good sleep each night, you need to be taking care of your nutrition, and you need to have some off days. And yoga can be an off day because that's great stretching. It's good for, like you said, the flexibility, mobility. It's not really straining yourself.
Hmm.
And that can be something that can be put in. But yeah, I love that you said that because for someone like you who does this hard 5 days a week, you're like, yeah, I have to have some recovery days. And I think that's so key. Let me ask you this, in terms of your nutrition, how have things changed since you've moved into this current cycle of training? What have you done with your nutrition to kind of fuel this new training program?
I have changed my macros. I know like
Yeah.
because of my level, like calories, it doesn't really phase me because since I was level obesity too, there's some that eat for them, like a calorie deficit could be like 3,000 calories. They're
Yep.
taller than me, their body composition was different than me. And for me,
Yep.
believe it or not, some folks might faint when I say this. It's 1,200
Yeah.
calories for me. That's like but like what I do
Yeah.
is I play with my macros. Like I'm 123 pounds. I lost like 3 pounds, but like
Hmm.
I put running back into it. But I'm being really mindful of not losing muscle, so I carb up. I'm
Yeah.
strategizing post workout fueling. It is really important. It is
Yeah.
really important because when I didn't used to fuel, I felt I felt this I was running out of gas. I felt
Yeah.
I
Sure.
was like, what the minute? And I felt down
Yeah.
on myself. I'm like, what is it that I'm doing? And that's when Rob came in, and then you came in, and then Dusty came in, and woke up like that girl. She's so
Yeah.
beautiful. She's pure queen, that girl.
Yes.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
you just feel
You
like
do.
a world of
You need
people.
it.
I need
You
it,
got
and
to
they
have the
motivate me.
recovery nutrition. Absolutely. Because I always talk about this too, which is, your muscles after a workout are asking for nutrition to be put back in. It's just like an empty gas tank. We got to refuel it in order to do the next
With the
day, right?
carbs.
Of
Yeah.
workouts. Yeah. You got to put carbs in, you got to put protein in. And for someone like you who's doing, I get this question a lot, which is, oh, I'm running. Should I be eating, more protein, less protein, like, kind of macros? And in your case, you're doing lifting and running. So
Yes.
carbs, protein, fats,
Carbs
all
up,
the things are
like carbs really high
absolutely.
up, and then protein
Mhm.
in the middle of it to grow
Yeah.
muscle. But my fats,
Yep.
because of my gallbladder issues, I still have my gallbladder.
Yes. You gotta be mindful. Yeah.
Extremely low in fat. Imagine per serving, per
Yeah.
30 grams of fat a day or 40.
Yeah.
40 for me is
Yeah.
pushing it because I'm so sensitive. I will
Sure.
feel it. So like with me, I just become a piece with it, and people think that I'm like sure, like how do you do it? I'm like, girl, I eat donuts. Wait a minute, what? I'm like, I make my own donuts. Pinterest is my friend. Like Pinterest, like there is you can't. Oh yes, you can. Like you just like grab
Sure.
the whole grain oats and you put it in the blender, and then you mash like I bake the sweet potato. I mash it. I gotta enjoy. You gotta be really strategic. And I learned from
Yeah.
other in the community that I'll mention later that they're masters in prepping. Prepping
Yeah.
has been 80% of my success, and the
Yeah.
carbs and everything put together, nutrition, dense, and fueling. And that's something that
Yeah.
I've been learning recently, a little bit more than a year, ever since basically when I met you. I'm like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, let me try applesauce. Like, what? I wasn't doing 40 carbs before my workout. I was just doing
Yeah.
10. And I was just
Yeah.
thinking that was
Yeah.
enough. And I was just, and like, God, I think I'm shutting down. Oh my God. Like, oh, what am I doing wrong? So it's just kind of like,
Right. Well, you
and your
don't know
tools are
till you don't. I
great.
mean, you don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean? You don't know until you. And I mean, honestly, there's so many different fueling strategies that are out there for folks. And some people do applesauce. Some people do just a sports drink. Some people have oats. I mean, there's so many different things that you can have that might work for you. And another thing I wanted to highlight is that you said planning is so key in prepping and things like that. Because one of my questions for you was,
Yes.
what are the habits that you've put in place basically to help you meet your daily nutrition goals?
I plan. I plan depending on each day when I'm going to train, especially
Mhm.
when I'm right now. I changed my split and I'm developing my upper body because I want to have that majestic big back. I
There
want
you
to
go.
have that muscle. I want to have that straight in my legs. I'm good. I did it.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with my glutes. And I was gonna get BBL, but I didn't even qualify because the plastic surgeon was like, "You need to gain 30 pounds."
You're like, wait a
Come
minute.
on. No. And I don't want to be cut. I'm tired. And I had to
Yeah.
really like kind of like make a master plan, like, okay, what can I do to develop my glutes? Progressive
Yeah.
overload, the technique.
Yeah.
What kind of muscle movements will help me develop my quads and my legs? But eating and my
Yeah.
macros, like, okay, this day I'm gonna train hard. This is a tough workout. I'm gonna do 130 grams of carbs,
Yeah.
126
Increase.
of
Yep.
increase, and 40 of fat. And I'm gonna, even when I'm at work, I'm like in the front desk and stuff, and I kind of like, and I have
Taking
like two
snacks.
monitors.
You're like, I'm
Yeah,
just gonna
I my
take a quick
water, and I'm
snack. Yeah.
just okay.
Because
Just
I
excuse
think
me for a
that's,
minute, sir.
yeah. Right. I mean, honestly, I think that that's something that's a good message because again, another kind of myth out there is that there's no snacks allowed. We're not allowed to have snacks after bariatric surgery. And, like I always said, to each their own, everybody is on their own path and their own. You have to find what works best for you, what calories or macros or no tracking or do tracking or
I
don't, or,
track
you know what I mean?
everything.
3 meals, meals, everybody's different. And so I think throughout all these episodes and when I have all these guests and someone like you, Mary, who's you've gone through a lot and you've had to really learn what your body tolerates,
Yeah.
how to fuel it for all this movement. You've got specific goals, and so you increase your calories and your carbohydrates on days that are harder. I love hearing that because everybody's different, every day is different, and you have to kind of listen and fuel to match what you're doing. And I think that's so helpful. I love that you prep and plan. So do you pack your foods for work with you?
Absolutely. Like, I've been meal prepping. Like, I meal prep like on Sundays. I do everything. Like I said, I prepare my meals depending what I'm going to work out. So for me, it's structure, it's
Yeah.
planning ahead. And also, I log everything on my fitness, like my fitness pal, because it works
Sure.
for me. And also, I'm not only the macros, but my micronutrients, like the iron levels. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't been deficient in anything on my vitamins.
Awesome.
Like, I am very like disciplined in that. And when I
Yeah.
start slacking, I'm like that. I didn't took my calcium citrate. My body feels it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
like I feel
Yeah.
it's odd. And I feel like the magnesium, iron, the potassium plays an important role in our stomachs to spread, on a cellular level, our nutrients. So everything, electrolytes is so important. Like, I think you mentioned in the podcast the importance. Coconut water has potassium and stuff, but what about the salt?
Yes. Yeah. We got to have salt too.
And
Absolutely.
that's the myth that, oh, salt is bad because it will plump you up, like water retention.
Yeah, water retention or whatever. Yeah, but
Like,
it's
it's
like you're
just
sweating. We need to replace what we're losing. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm so glad you said micronutrients because I've only done a few episodes on here where we really talked about like, supplements or whatever, but it's so key for life that you're taking your bariatric vitamins and minerals every single day. There is no end date. You don't get to just stop them. When you have bariatric
no.
surgery, they're part of your life.
Yeah.
And when you're active as you are, they play an even more critical role
Yeah,
in
it's
allowing
high
you to keep
demand.
pushing your body.
High
Yep,
demand. I'm just like, it's like
absolutely.
you're laying the hammer like that, and if you don't give it,
Yes.
like, you're gonna fall
Yep.
apart. And that has happened to me. That, like,
Yeah.
even I don't reach
Yeah.
my water goal, and I was almost
Yeah.
gonna faint. So I was just like, come on. And my body, it's
Got
like
to do it.
restriction. So it becomes a habit. When it becomes a habit, like brushing your teeth, exercise, it becomes a part of you. Maybe for some bodybuilding is not, but for me, like my
Yeah.
best advice too is like find something that you're really passionate. It could be Zumba or it could be just
100%.
aerobic work, like, or Pilates, everything. And you master your own craft and you just get into it and it becomes part of your life. It's not like no matter what, I can't rest or, you gotta really like embrace the journey and be kind to yourself. Like when I was gaining like muscle, it didn't went through my mind about the scale because
Yeah.
I knew the reality. The scale will go up. There's two different things, muscle and leanness.
Hmm.
And also it could happen that if your macros are off, then it means you can gain muscle with fat, meaning
Hmm.
that you're gonna look in the mirror. It's not that your pants are gonna like they're tight. You know yourself. You know your
Yeah.
composition. You're gonna notice when you used to look before, when we were like, overweight, you will know like,
Sure.
I'm gaining fat as well. So that's when
Hmm.
you have to be like mindful, like being careful and being, alert in that aspect. So with me,
Yeah.
I did the DEXA scan. It's a great tool. There's certain tools.
Yeah.
The scale I really
Yeah.
don't use, very minimal, but I only
Yes.
use medical grade to be honest. And for me,
Hmm.
I'm gonna put later examples about how weight does fluctuate, especially when you are in your period, like in us
Yeah.
women, it does fluctuate. And I
Yeah.
never weigh
Let's talk about
myself.
it right now.
Yeah,
Yeah. Please talk about it right now.
like for me, like it does fluctuate because we retain water. So it's kind of
Yep.
like I have on my phone over here, but like, I weigh myself like during my menstrual cycle and then
Hmm.
I was like about more like than a pound, like heavier a little bit. And then
Sure.
I weighed it and it passed and I was back to 123. So
Yeah.
it's
Happens.
at
It's part of it.
124 with 500, like, you know what I mean? And so
Sure.
it also has a lot to do with it to weigh yourself on an empty stomach and at the same time. And when you wake up, that's what I noticed the difference on trial and error comparing when you're going through your day, when you weigh yourself. That's when in my head and my brain was like, okay, this is weight fluctuates. I'm not gonna let it get into my head because what accurate
Yeah.
is the scan, the DEXA scan will show the fat that's around your organs. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like monitoring and seeing like an idea because the chart can be a little bit deceiving. For me, under the chart, there would be that I'm underweight, that I'm
Yeah.
overweight, excuse me, because I'm
That you're
five
overweight.
foot
Sure.
and I'm
Yeah. The
123.
BMI. Yeah.
I'm supposed to be like 90.
Yeah. Isn't that, I mean, isn't it
And I
ridiculous? I
know,
know.
and
It's
you saw
ridiculous.
my picture, how I looked like at
Yes.
116 pounds when I was running
Sure.
35 miles a week. You saw it.
Sure. Yeah.
Barely any muscle. I was very slim. I didn't have a shape.
Yeah.
So it's like, with the chart, we gotta really like come. It's so outdated. There's certain things that they're outdated. The only thing you can do is knowledge and just
Yeah.
like tools that work. For me, is the Lumen has been
Yep.
fantastic. And
Sure.
everybody at work, they do potlucks and it's just very mental. For me, it becomes to a point that I've been through so much in my life. Food doesn't faze me anymore. I'm at peace with it. Even my friends, when they're
Yeah.
fresh out of surgery, they were eating Chinese food. Like, it's okay, Mary, I will eat in front of you, like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah. You're like, it's okay.
like,
Yeah.
it's
You're
okay.
doing
And they would
you.
feel guilty, and my friends, people, you kind of like change who are you surrounded with too.
That's so true. Gosh, that's such a good point.
Not
Yeah.
in a
I'm
bad way,
No, not at
not in
all.
a bad way, but you just kind of realize certain people won't will feel like certain guilt. They're like, oh, it's like
Sure.
when the culture in today's day that, oh, you're eating a salad or you're in a diet.
Yeah. It's like, no, I
It's
just
it's
like a salad.
it's
I just
it's
like vegetables. It's
it's
okay.
like it's kind of
Yeah.
like I am making people see that this is normal. Oh, are you competing and that's why you're eating like this? Because
Mhm.
unfortunately, we live in a world that everything there's a lot of decadence and sweetness and deep fried, like, so like when someone sees that, it's very alien. It's like,
Yeah.
you're a unicorn. I'm like, no, this helps you. What does that do? And like I educate, my coworkers or people that are around me. I didn't know this. I tried this. It's so good. I would feel so guilty eating. I didn't know there was another option for a vegan pasta, something that was
Right.
very low in fat. So I'm just spread little tools here and there or plant-based version of health, well, a better version of the Oreo cookies that you get 3
Yeah.
cookies for 120 calories, and it has less than 20 grams of carbs, and it has only 6 grams of fat because of the ingredients. It's just like getting to know how
Yeah.
to read the numbers and not
Yeah.
living in this guilt that you cannot enjoy yourself. I even found a Dutch
Yeah.
pie that's like 5 grams of fat per serving, 130
Oh,
grams.
there you go. Yeah.
I
I mean,
share.
and I think what I'm hearing you say, which a couple things I want to highlight, which is you rely more on body composition, which I am 100% a fan of, in terms of avoiding, the scale, because as you just mentioned, the number on the scale is so variable. It fluctuates day to day. It fluctuates, especially for women when we're menstruating. If you're gaining muscle mass and you get on the scale, yeah, it can be up. And it's like, but you're putting on lean muscle mass, which is stimulating your metabolism. And in the long
Yes.
term, that is so positive. So I love that you're saying that, you're more of a, body composition, you track that versus just the number on the scale. And then also what I'm hearing you saying too is that, you've had to learn different ways of eating, and you're on your own journey, and people around you can kind of do what they want to do, and
Yes.
you're going to do what you want to do. And that's cool. And everybody
Yeah.
should be living their own authentic, life
Yes.
and their journey.
Yes.
And I love to hear that you're doing that. It sounds like you feel good about it.
Yeah. I still have a lot to learn. I want to hit that. I want to be able to hit that marathon. It's going to
There you
feel
go.
really powerful that I can be able to do it, but it scares me because, like I said, we all come in different shape and sizes. I was,
Yeah.
my type, my body anatomy, like I burn things. I, listen, when I did the rest and metabolic test, I burned, my
Yeah.
metabolism was fast. And that to
Yeah.
live, I had to consume 2,700 calories.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
And you're like,
I don't,
not quite
I,
yet. I'm not there yet.
I just like, thinking about it. I'm in a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
only consume 1,200 calories, and
Right.
it's
And I
enough for
think that that's
me.
what's challenging, especially when folks do get the, basal metabolic rate test and the activity factor factored in. For someone that's had bariatric surgery, yeah, that might be what I need to get to, but not everyone can just, certainly right out of the gate or the first few years,
Mm,
it's very difficult. You have to listen to your body, feel it the best way that you can. Something that you mentioned earlier, you've really tweaked your macros, especially again on days that you're
yes.
heavier, you add in more calories and carbs. For someone that's listening out there that wants to gain muscle, or that's kind of their primary focus, we might want to increase protein much, higher than what they've been doing in terms of just that kind of initial post-op phase. And goals, these big numbers that are out there, it doesn't mean that maybe someday that you won't be able to move up. It takes time, and everyone is going to be on their own kind of step way to whatever that number is. And I think what's powerful to hear though is that people, like you said, come in all shapes and sizes, and your calories and macros are going to be all different. Everyone's different, right? And
Yeah.
I appreciate that you're sharing that, because I think, we all come out of that, people have the surgery and they're all on this 8 to 1,200 calories, 60 to 80 grams of protein. And it's like this
Uh,
prescription that we think we have to be on for
yeah.
life. And
Yeah.
it varies.
Yeah. Yeah. My surgeon was great in that. And he's like, listen, this is what you need to do. Like me, another complication that I don't remember if I mentioned, normally bypass patients get dumping syndrome.
Yeah.
And rare cases, sleep patients get it. I'm one of those special cases.
Oh no.
So,
Yeah.
but
Oh
I
dear.
learned, I try things. My surgeon encouraged me, okay, try things. One time after weight loss surgery, I lactose intolerant. I try
Okay.
like a magnum, like a piece of like ice cream pop, and my husband give me a little piece, and I try a little bit, and I blew up, and I went like,
Oh no.
and he
Oh
heard like
dear. Oh
splat,
yeah.
and
Good
that's
night.
when I knew. Yeah, that's when I knew. Like, I'm like, what did that just happen? I'm like, you got up, and I
Yeah.
got the shakes. I felt like
Oh
dreadful. It was horrific. So I knew my
yeah.
triggers, and I have to look at the type of syrups because there's certain people out there that they're more estradiol or there's aspartame. They're more sensitive to other types, and me, I have to do trial and error. And I already got it unlocked. I know myself, but that's the thing. You
Yeah.
have to do trial and error, and like
Yeah.
I'm very sensitive. I get dumping syndrome, and I managed to find a product that it's chai tea. I know that's very
Okay.
calorie dense and fattening, but I found something that was more sugar free, and I see the
Oh, there you
macros,
go.
and I just, you know what I mean? Like I
Plug it in.
try, and I always tell people, like in my bio, I have little treats here and there, little tricks in there. I'm like, I didn't know
Of
this
course.
existed. Can you do that? And I'm like, well, I can do it, but you can try.
Yeah. Get to see it. Yeah. See if you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, on that same line, so what is some advice that you would, if you don't mind sharing,
yeah.
through your journey that you've learned? What's some advice for folks that are listening right now that maybe want to start these new movement goals, but or just something that you've learned that you want to share?
What I want to share is that you really gotta embrace the journey. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Be kind to yourself. Explore. Try things. Learn from other people. It's okay to be scared and ask tools. Like it's okay to be able to have accessories. Like if you don't like, tracking food, at least give yourself the chance to try it once. To you can be able to have that, that mental aspect. How much are you eating with, and what is it does for you, and also with the multivitamins, it's really like important. Though everything plays like a role together. It's all about what agrees in your stomach. And for me, like like processed foods don't agree with my body very well, but there's so much that we can do. There's so much
Absolutely.
that we can do. It's just, and support is really important. If I didn't have the support of my family at first, I have support from very close friends of mine, and that's really important. And also my husband. But no matter what, if the people tell you like, "Oh, that was an easy way out," or "I don't think you didn't have to do it," it's kind of like thinking like, "Let me wait a minute, hold on, let me educate you. Let
Yeah.
me tell you what I've been through. Let me open my book to you so you can be able to understand like how sick I was, how bad I felt." So this is kind of like be able to be taken one step at a time, and it's just enjoying the ride and learning from others. Don't ever compare your journey. If you feel pressure in doing something, just put your foot down, and it's okay, because there can be people that can be enablers, self-sabotage. So I understand. Like me, I used to be a heavy drinker back in
Hmm.
my day. So because of the weight loss surgery, and I know people, because addiction transfers, I know myself, and
Sure.
I decided to quit alcohol all the way. And also the
Hmm.
surgeon things happened for a reason. He told me, "Mary, because of your esophagitis, if you would have introduced alcohol, you would have been way worse. You would have
Yeah.
done the
Yeah.
bypass like now, very
Yeah.
acidic." So things kind of like happen for a reason, and pay attention to your body. Pay attention to your signals, what your signal, not, it's not being like afraid, like, "Oh my God, there's something wrong with me." It's kind of like,
Right.
like if you notice a little bit of acid reflux, I wish I would have said something sooner.
Yeah.
I wish I would have, if I was in a calorie deficit, I didn't give enough time for my body to digest the food. I was always in a calorie deficit at the first like almost 2 years, because I was up
Sure.
and go and I'll be around. It's really important to get your nutrition in and time everything. Like before
Yeah.
going to bed, especially because we're really prone for acid reflux, and you gotta kind of like pay attention on the last meal, like 2 hours before going to bed, like even water,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
gotta really know your triggers, talk to your team, talk to your doctor. This is something spreading awareness too, because I
Yeah.
wish I
I
would have done
agree.
it differently. And that's it's
Yeah.
all about, be aware of your mind, be aware of your body.
Oh, I love that. I love that. No, that's so helpful. And, and I'm sorry that I know you've had a lot of, you've had a lot of ups and downs on your journey. And I'm so thankful that
Yes.
you're willing to share, and be open to answering people's questions. And for that matter, where can people reach out to you, to follow you, to learn more about your journey, but to ask you questions and maybe some advice? Where can they reach you?
They can reach me at my Instagram at Mary Bariatric. And also I have my TikTok. That one is like more like my realness and funny side of it. I'm a complete nerd. I can be a little funny in my humor side. So it's kind of Bulma Hulk
Okay.
VSG.
Okay.
That's my
I'll,
TikTok name. And Mary Bariatric, that's like on Instagram. But yeah,
I
you
love
can
it.
always reach out and I'll do what I can. You always consult with your physician. I'm not a professional, but the only thing I can do and I want to do is just spread. It's just spread and share things, tools that might help
Yeah.
and benefit.
Absolutely. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I will put I'll put both your TikTok and your
Thank you.
Instagram in the handle. So guys listening, if you want to follow Mary on either her Instagram or TikTok, you can just click right on this show notes here and we will have that there listed. And that way they can get into contact with you. But thank you so much for your time today and all this great information and just sharing your experience. Like I said, every episode we try to, just put real information out there because I think sometimes you don't really know, maybe something that you're experiencing, you're like, is this normal? Is this weird?
Yeah.
And, to hear people's journeys, everyone's so different. And in your case, and I just want to say this, Mary, why I was so attracted to your account is you're always positive, despite, a lot of shit that happens,
Yeah.
in real life, because that
Yeah.
happens, right? And
Yeah.
this journey isn't always a perfect, straight, journey, like you said earlier. And I just thank you so much for sharing the ups and the downs. And I just appreciate your time.
No, you're welcome. One thing, our hormones change, everything
Yeah.
changes and it's kind of like everything
Ah,
changes. Yeah. And, unfortunately, in my case, I'm already premenopause. So it's like a lot of things that I have to come to accept, but I
yep.
have to keep going. I want to be
Yeah.
able to do this as long as I live because it makes me feel embodied. It makes me feel strong. It makes me
Yeah.
feel that I can be empowered, and everybody,
Yeah.
all people out there, you have the power and you guys motivate me, all of you, and even you. And I want to thank
Aw,
everybody, Weight Loss community, everybody kicking ass out there.
love it. I love it. Ah, well, thank you so much. So, guys, you can watch the full episode of this podcast on my YouTube channel, which is the Active Bariatric Nutrition channel. So, make sure to subscribe, give it a like so that you know when we put up this episode. We will post this week. And then, if you don't mind, share this podcast with just one person that you think would find this information helpful, find this information inspiring, to share someone else's journey, like Mary, who has had a lot of things that have gone
Yeah.
on, right? And so you
Yeah.
can learn from it. So please, if you don't mind sharing this, but definitely, if you don't mind, hit subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening so that you know when we update and put up a new podcast episode. And then certainly you can follow me on my social media, which is on Instagram, Active Bariatric. I have a TikTok channel too, Mary. Oh my goodness, the Active Bariatric Nutrition channel. And then also, if you would like to join my private Facebook community, that is the Active Bariatric Nutrition community on Facebook. And then lastly, if you'd like to learn about my one-to-one nutrition services, please go to my website, which is activebariatricnutrition.com, and go
Absolutely.
ahead and schedule a discovery call and we can learn more about each other.
Yes,
So thanks again
absolutely.
for tuning in. Thank you, Mary.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you.
absolutely. And we will do this again next week, everybody. Take care.